everyone in medicine needs to learn how to have these conversations, but more and more people are training in programs that have palliative staff. And so then they come into practice, and if something tough comes up, they're referred to palliative medicine and they're not having the discussions. Most of us went into medical school to have these type of discussions. This is how you connect with your patient. We did not go to medical school to sit on the computer all day. But if you don't know your patient and you're not connecting with your patient, you can have the world's best treatment plan, but it's not going to get followed if the patient's home life is so chaotic they can't do it.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prescription for Success. I'm Dr. Randy Cook, your host for the podcast, which is a production of MD Coaches, providing leadership and executive coaching for physicians by physicians to overcome burnout, transition your career, develop as a leader, or whatever your goal might be. Visit MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com because you're not in this alone. My guest today began her medical career as a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, but after more than a decade in that role, she switched her focus to palliative medicine and end-of-life care. It is a truly unique and inspirational story, so let's hear the details from Dr. Nadine Semer. I am really looking forward to my conversation today with Dr. Nadine Semer, who is speaking to us from out in Carmel, California, beautiful Carmel. And Nadine, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so looking forward to this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be on with you and to be interviewed with you.
Well, you're very kind. And what we're going to do is start off with what we usually do on Prescriptions for Success, and that is talk about a little bit about the trajectory of your career. And then, of course, a little bit later on, I want to get into the details of this incredible book that you've just published. I just finished reading it a few days ago and can't wait to talk to you about that. But to get us started off, as we always do, I want to hear a little bit about your career development. I know you're out on the West Coast now, but I know that you did most of your early training in the Eastern U.S. So is that where you did your growing up?
Yes, I was an East Coaster up until my plastic surgery training. I never left this. I never lived outside of the state of Maryland.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So what got you interested in going to medical school?
So I'm one of those people that knew very early on that I was going into medicine.
Good for you. Me too.
Yeah. And, my mom was a registered nurse, and she mainly worked part-time when we were younger until my father died relatively young. He was in his 40s. I was 15.
Wow.
But she always worked. She worked in prison. She worked in public health. She had a wide variety of nursing jobs. And my father was a social worker, social service administrator.
Wow.
But there weren't really any doctors in my family. But, I was just one of those people that knew that I was going to be a doctor.
But you certainly had some exposure because of your mom. Yeah. And so sounds like it was a long-term plan for you. You did your undergraduate work at University of Maryland with the pre-med course that we all follow, I'm sure. When you got into medical school, I'm always interested to hear first impressions. Did you feel like you were exactly in the right place, or did it take a while?
No, I knew it, partially because not only did I know from early on I was going to be a physician, I knew I was going to be a plastic surgeon.
Wow. And what put
So
that in your head?
there was a TV show, I guess in the 70s, because I think I saw it in my high school years or maybe late junior high, that used to profile physicians. And I think it was NBC. I can't remember what it was called, but I think there's probably a generation of us out there that were influenced by this show.
Yeah.
Because one of my co-residents in surgery, he was actually influenced by the one episode that profiled Red Duke, the trauma surgeon.
Is that
down
right?
in Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to be a trauma surgeon. And the one that got me was the one that profiled Dr. Joseph Murray, who was in Boston. He was a pediatric plastic surgeon. He was a true Renaissance man. He actually did the first successful kidney transplant and won a Nobel Prize for that.
Wow.
And the main things he did in plastic surgery is he did the big craniofacial procedures, which at that time, I mean, were incredibly dangerous and unbelievable.
Right.
And there was something about those operations that plastic surgery wasn't necessarily saving a life, but it was improving a life.
Right.
It was having that impact that somehow that gripped me. And so I was lucky. I never went through a period of what do I want to do?
Yeah.
It was always, this is where I'm going to get. And so even if medical school wasn't particularly fun, which it's not necessarily, it was going to get me to where I was going.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I even thought about whether it was for me or not.
That answers a bit of a question that popped into my head when I saw that I was going to be interviewing a plastic surgeon, and that is, it's relatively rare to run into a plastic surgeon who has no interest in cosmetic surgery. And you've already given me a very good explanation for why that's the case. It also interests me that to do your residency training, you decided to go to the other coast. What was behind that decision?
Well, those are the days we had no choice. So I did my general surgery all in Maryland, and then it's a match. So I interviewed all over the place, and I ranked UCLA very high, and through some miracle, they ranked me very high, and I was fortunate enough to go there to train, which I feel very privileged to have trained with those attendings at that time. And then it exposed me to the West Coast, which I never really thought much about.
And what was your first impression?
Oh, my God. The weather was amazing. Southern California. I mean, the Mid-Atlantic is not that bad compared to, but it's hot, humid in the summer. It's variable. Southern California, I was in Santa Monica. Perfect weather every single day. It sounds really quite superficial, but it's pretty nice to have really nice weather and not have to worry about making plans and it's going to ends up raining and ruining them or whatever. And especially as a resident, you have so little free time.
You've never ever considered the idea of returning to your roots on the East Coast, right?
Well, after my plastic surgery training, I was in private practice for 2 years in Pennsylvania.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah. So I did do private practice.
Tell me a little bit about that experience. Now, you didn't have a big interest in cosmetic surgery. So what was your practice like there?
Again, I was very lucky. I worked in York, Pennsylvania, which is actually more of a bedroom community to Baltimore probably than Philadelphia. We were closer to Baltimore. And my best friends were in that area. I was living with them. It was a 2-person practice. The man I worked with, I learned so much from, and he loved reconstructive surgery. He also loved cosmetic, but he was perfectly happy with me mainly doing reconstruction. And also at that time, not to talk dollars and cents, but at the time, you could be in practice as a reconstructive surgeon and you can pay your bills and stuff.
Right.
It's harder to do that now with a lot of the changes that have come about.
I bet that's
but I
true.
was fortunate that he loved microsurgery. And I trained with Bill Shaw and Neil Ford Jones at UCLA, which really huge names in microsurgery. So he loved that. He loved everything. He was just so enthusiastic about the reconstruction. He did a lot of hand trauma and hand work. So I was incredibly fortunate that was the practice I was in.
Yeah, sounds like.
And he also allowed me to take time off, because part of what also attracted me to plastic surgery is that I wanted to go overseas and to be able to use my skills in resource limited areas.
I see. So you were already doing some of that in those very early practice years.
Yeah, right after I finished my training, that was the first time I went to the Eastern Cape of South Africa. And then I pretty much used all my vacation time when I was in private practice to do my work then. So over the course of 10 years, I went like every month, once a year, for a month, or every other year, both in that practice and then when I went back to California.
We'll get back to our interview in just a moment, but right now I have a message for you from our friends at Practice Link. If you're a physician considering your next career move, whether you're finishing training, relocating, or just ready for something new, make Practice Link your first stop. Practice Link is the leading physician job board with tens of thousands of opportunities across every specialty and in every corner of the country. You can search by specialty, location, employer type, and more, so finding the right fit is faster and easier. But Practice Link offers more than just job listings. Our free resource center is designed specifically for physicians, and it includes expert tips on CV writing, contract negotiation, interview prep, and managing your job search with confidence. Best of all, everything is completely free for physicians. So visit practicelink.com today to explore jobs, connect with employers, and access career resources made just for you. I'd like to share a message from Navigate. After spending years in the financial sector, Navigate has met lots of clients with all kinds of student loan issues. They were confused, they were overwhelmed by the doublespeak and the overly complex forms, and especially the deliberately misleading statements from loan servicer representatives. Navigate recognized the chaos in the student loan industry and immediately brought clarity and real solutions. If you'd like to flip the script on student debt, visit www.flipthescript.loan/MD-coaches to schedule a call with Navigate. They'll tailor a plan specifically for your unique situation and work with you until the loan is paid off. What do you have to lose besides the stress of student loan debt? Yeah, it sounds like you were kind of doing exactly what you wanted to do. So what precipitated the move back to the West Coast?
Some of it was we were getting ready to start talking partnership, which Nia money is not good. So I've been perfectly happy to be a salaried person in medicine.
Yeah.
And on one of my trips to Africa, I met a man who lived in California. So a lot of why I moved was to be near him. While he didn't last, the California part did. And so when I came out to California, I was fortunate enough to be able to get a job at Kaiser Permanente, which was all reconstruction.
That fascinates me a bit. I have no reason to develop any opinions about Kaiser Permanente, but I find it a little bit, it doesn't fit that they were looking for a plastic surgeon to do something that really didn't produce a tremendous amount of revenue. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Plastic surgery, they actually have pretty robust plastic surgery programs throughout the
I'm sure they do.
program.
Yeah.
The Kaisers are different in different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And the California, I was Southern California Permanente, and there's Northern. They're different than the Kaisers in other parts of the country. And that may have changed because I haven't been part of them for about 10 years now. But so there's a ton of need, both from hand surgery to reconstruction after cancer.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Breast reduction surgery, facial reconstruction, craniofacial, you name it. Mm-hmm. It's really the whole gamut of plastic surgery.
So you landed in a pretty good place, not only for climatological reasons, but for professional reasons as well.
Yes, I could, and I can say, I mean, just on a personal level, trying to take care of patients, I never had a problem. If I thought it was reconstructive, I got no pushback. Whereas when I was in private practice, it would take an act of God to prove to an insurance company that something was reconstruction.
Good point. Yeah.
And so I never had to worry about that, and they never second guessed me. And I also took it seriously. So I didn't want to take advantage of Kaiser Permanente. Yeah. So I felt a responsibility that if I thought something was cosmetic, I would say it to the patients. But if I thought it was reconstructive, I did not get pushback. So I am forever grateful that I was able to practice there.
I bet you are. That's a pretty good setup.
And when I went away to do work overseas, I knew that my patients were well taken care of because we had like 6 or 7 people in our group, and I knew they would take good care of my patients.
So it really sounds like you were in a really very good place at that point, and yet you decided that you really wanted to make quite a different turn and train yourself in an entirely different discipline. So I'm just going to let you go ahead and tell us the story of how that came about.
Well, I mean, it's complicated.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Part of it, so it's both that it's funny because I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but then it's kind of like the Olympic athlete that was shooting towards getting the gold medal, and they get the gold medal, and then you're like, well, what do I do? I'm happy that I got it. So once I was a plastic surgeon and was taking care of patients, I've always been someone that asks more questions. And from some of my overseas work, I was very interested in global health. I saw a lot of bad things that money gets spent on in trying to do good, but maybe doesn't really do good for the people it's supposed to be helping. So at one point, another nice thing about Kaiser's, I was able to take a year's sabbatical, and I got a master's in public health. I went to Boston for a year, and there's nothing like being a student when you're old and don't care about your grades.
I can only imagine.
I mean, it was just wonderful. Between all the people I met and the professors, and I got to take classes at the business school, which really was eye-opening. To learn the difference between the business people and the medical people with the same set of facts. It was fascinating.
I bet it was.
So at one point, if I could have kind of shifted a bit towards more global health, I might have done that. But around that time when I left, we had gone electronic. Kaiser was relatively an early adopter of electronic records. And boy, did I see a change in the doctors when I came back. When I left, all anyone talked about was patient care and interesting patients and how to do better by the patients. Yep. When I came back from that year, all anyone talked about was the electronic record and how it was killing them and making their lives miserable. And just morale was terrible. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bored, even though, I mean, I'm like the only reconstructive surgeon that would be bored by a purely elective practice, but I actually like the emergencies more. And that's one thing that we didn't really get much in Kaiser in terms of big trauma or things like that. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that the Kaiser system is really very nice because you get a diagnosis, let's say breast cancer. You don't have to go looking for the radiation oncologist, the medical oncologist, this, and this. It's all there, and it's easy to set up. It's easy to arrange. And I would see patients who were referred to me for possibly immediate breast reconstruction. And I was blessed to have plenty of time to talk to people. And they would have no idea what was going on. They were just so overwhelmed by their diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just kind of wonder, how is this possible? So I was getting a little bored, a little frustrated with what I was seeing patients going through. And at about the same time, my best friend from medical school, who was geriatrics, internal medicine, geriatrics, and Pally, she's lived on the East Coast, and she was coming out to the West Coast to go to Vancouver to go to the palliative medicine national meeting. And this was like 2008, relatively early in the palliative medicine world. And so I went up to Vancouver to meet her. And while I was there, and this says everything there is to say about palliative medicine, I mean, I attended the conference. I just walked in and attended. I mean, you can't do that now, and you can't do that any other medical conference. I mean, if you don't have your little name tag that says you paid your money, you're not getting in the door.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was able to sit in the audience, and I was surrounded by physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, chaplains, social workers. And everyone in that room was there to talk about the patient and patient care.
Wow.
And it was incredibly comfortable to be surrounded by those people. It's funny, in medical school, the only other thing that attracted me aside from the surgery world was actually, we called it psych liaison at that time, which was kind of helping people deal with their illnesses. And so it's funny that now palliative medicine was catching my attention because it's kind of similar, except these are people without psychiatric diagnoses. So when I came back, I just started thinking about it. And the beauty of medicine is that you should never be bored. There's always something new to learn. Unfortunately, palliative medicine had just invoked that to sit for the boards, you had to do a fellowship. You used to be able to grandfather in by taking the test.
Yeah.
So I went back did a fellowship at Kaiser. I did a 1-year fellowship, and that kind of headed me towards palliative medicine because I thought, I have a different perspective because there weren't that many surgeons in it at the time. I'm older.
I can imagine.
I've seen natural progression of illness. I had dealt with, sadly, a lot of patients who died from my surgical training and just over time. And I thought I could help patients understand what was going on to help them navigate what was happening to them. And so here I am.
Yeah. You're now working in that space. Did you feel right away as if you were exactly where you belonged? Were there ever any regrets? What was your state of mind at that point?
I mean, I missed operating at times, but I felt very comfortable with what I was doing, and partially because I didn't realize how much medicine had changed. I was very lucky. I was very protected as kind of a super specialist. I was never under these, you don't get much time to talk to people. I had an hour to do a consult for someone. I could spend more time than that. I didn't know what had happened to medicine because the last time I did internal medicine or anything like that was years ago. And in my fellowship, one of the first patients I met was someone with advanced COPD who was being on his third hospitalization in just a few months, and his breathing was getting worse, and he might need to be intubated. But if he got intubated, he was probably never going to get off the ventilator.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking I just kind of asked him, have you been talking about this with your doctor? And the answer was no.
Because nobody offered, right?
No one brought it up. And at the last hospitalization, they kind of mentioned putting him on a breathing machine, but they didn't mention the ramifications, and he didn't end up needing it, thankfully. So he went home. And it still wasn't brought up. And I realized that just how necessary it was to have someone that could help patients really understand. And I now describe my job as a palliative medicine physician as a medical interpreter. My job is to turn the medicine into English that the patients can understand.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Crow, founder and CEO for MD Coaches. Here on RX for Success, we interview a lot of great medical professionals on how they grew their careers, how they overcame challenges, and how they handle day-to-day work. I really hope you're getting a lot of great information. But if you're looking for an answer to a specific problem, management or administration challenge, or if you're feeling just a bit burnt out, like maybe you chose the wrong career, well, then there's a faster way to get the help you need. No, it's not counseling, it's coaching. RX for Success is produced by MD Coaches, a team of physicians who have been where you are. I know you're used to going it alone, but you don't have to. Get the support you need today. Visit us at mymdcoaches.com to schedule your complimentary consultation. Again, that's mymdcoaches.com, because you're not in this alone.
We'll get back to our conversation in just a moment, but first, I want to mention a sponsor who has been with us almost since our beginning. Physician Outlook is a splendid publication created for physicians by physicians. Originally a print and online magazine, it's now a dynamic digital-only platform using storytelling, humor, and community building to help physicians and surgeons reconnect with the art of medicine. Physician Outlook celebrates the entire healthcare team, including nurses, nurse practitioners, and PAs who value physician-led care. As artificial intelligence and corporate overreach threatens the human connection, Physician Outlook remains committed to the sacred physician-patient relationship. Beyond storytelling, Physician Outlook takes action on causes that matter. So join the movement, connect, laugh, be inspired. Visit physicianoutlook.com today. And now let's get back to our interview. Well, it sounds to me as if you hit a number of home runs, if you will, throughout the course of your career and your training, and you have certainly taken advantage of every one. This current stage of your life and your practice has led to one of the most remarkable books that I think I've ever had in my hands.
That's
entitled 15 Lessons Connecting with Patients for More Authentic and Empowering Conversations. I read the thing. It's obviously not terribly long, and I read it in its entirety over the previous weekend. And I was just overcome with how brilliant it is, how much wisdom there is, how simple it is. It gets to the point. There's just an absolute, total absence of BS. It's just remarkable. If you could talk just a little bit about the inspiration that led to this really brilliant work and how you put it all together. I'm really interested to hear this.
Well, it was a process over probably 5 or 6 years. I initially had a blog, but I'm not social media savvy, and B, I'm not a good enough writer to be able to do it regularly enough so that even if you find an audience, you got to keep doing it regularly to keep them. So that was the beginning. A lot of this just comes from the idea that my concern. So I love what I do. I think it's important, but I also see that the rise of palliative medicine as a specialty, it reflects what has happened to healthcare in the United States. So it's a reflection of the terrible state that we're in. And I also fear that because we're there, other providers are not doing this stuff. And there will never be enough palliative medicine people. If you add all the social workers, nurses, doctors, PAs, chaplains, you add them all up, there's not as many of us as the need, as there are patients. And everyone in medicine needs to learn how to have these conversations, but more and more people are training in programs that have palliative staff. And so then they come into practice, and if something tough comes up, they're referred to palliative medicine, and they're not having the discussions.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, most of us went into medical school to have these type of discussions. This is how you connect with your patient. We did not go to medical school to sit on the computer all day. And now we can talk to AI and they can put our notes together. But we didn't do it to check off boxes. We didn't do it to there are certain things that are very important, and there are quality indicators that are critical. But if you don't know your patient and you're not connecting with your patient, you can have the world's best treatment plan, but it's not going to get followed if the patient's home life is so chaotic they can't do it. And there's no way for you to know that without having some connection with your patient. So this book is more for anyone going into medicine to help people remember why they went into medicine in the first place, and not to let what our healthcare system has done to healthcare get in the way.
The thing that really blew me away about the book is this is really not just an exercise in giving advice on how to deal with people who are at the end of their life. It's a profound discussion of really good medicine. In fact, the way it's organized, at least the way it came across to me, was sort of a stepwise discussion of things that you should be thinking about in each of the many clinical scenarios and clinical decision points that we come to, particularly in a situation where a person may be at the end of their life. But I wonder if it ever crossed your mind that you were being instructional to someone who wanted to be a better physician.
I think that's really what it's for. It isn't just when someone's dying, you need to do those things. You have someone diagnosed with heart failure in its early stages. You need to have these discussions. So that is really my audience, was to help really across the board, from respiratory therapists and physical therapists, not just nurses, not just physicians, because we really saw a lot of it during COVID. Some of the people that spent the most time with the actual patients, like the respiratory therapists, were in there. We were fortunate that we had PAPRs for all the providers, everyone. So we didn't have to wear N95s and kill our poor noses. But they were spending a lot of time with patients and didn't know how to explain to them how sick they were, didn't know what words to say, which was, everything was frustrating at that time anyway, but it made it even worse. Or like physical therapists spend a lot of time with patients, often more than the physicians do in the hospitals. And they didn't know how to try to help the patients understand what was happening. And it doesn't have to be talking about death. It's talking about almost anything. So I really see it's one thing I didn't expect with my palliative fellowship. I thought I would learn about symptom management because going into it, I thought I could talk to patients. We all think we can talk. Because there's not a lot of time given to it in medical school. Thankfully, I think more and more time is being devoted to it. But when I trained, we had maybe one discussion about like talking to patients specifically. So it's just, well, we all talk, we all know how to do it. And as a reconstructive surgeon, so if I saw someone for a breast reconstruction, there was often 3 or 4 different ways to do it. Each one would have its own risks and benefits, and I would need to understand what was important to each patient to help guide the plan. So I thought I was pretty good at this. And I learned very quickly, not necessarily. And I understood what the politicians understand, just how much words matter. And words that have certain meaning to medical people have a whole different meaning to someone who's not in medicine and someone who's just desperate for good news. And we can do some harm by not being quite as clear as we think we are. So, I mean, we're not purposefully doing something wrong. We don't realize just how what our words are saying is not getting our intention across.
So true. And what I saw in there is that there is example after example of things to be watched for in terms of physical diagnosis and physical examination and observation of the patient and understanding of the natural history of disease and all those things. I don't know if that was at the top of your mind or not, but it certainly came across to me, and I thought it made the entire presentation that much more brilliant. And I really congratulate you for putting together something that I think really should be put into the hands of every medical student as they graduate, because it's medicine is something that you work at for a long, long time, and you hope that you keep getting better. And I think this book is a good way to make sure that you do, particularly if you deal with patients as they reach the end of their life. So I can't congratulate you enough on a brilliant piece of work.
Well, thank you very much. And it's also for people who treat illnesses that are going to last a long time with a trajectory that could be years, not necessarily months, that may lead to a premature death. So that patients understand, they don't have to hear it every time you see them, but they understand what potentially is coming so that they can make plans.
Right. I hadn't really thought about that, but that is profoundly important. I bet quite a few, maybe not nearly the majority, but I bet the patients in their 30s and 40s that are facing the end stages of some malignancy or whatever, they really need some careful listening on the part of their physician in order to help them get through something that they never thought that they would be facing at that time in their life. Would you agree?
And also something, and I don't know what cardiologists talk about with patients, so I'm just probably projecting. When patients with heart failure hit a certain point, they may be offered an AICD for primary prevention of sudden death, because once your ejection fraction is so low, you're at high risk. I mean, that sounds reasonable. People don't want to die. But what if you have a patient who watched their father die of heart failure slowly over years? Because heart failure can be a hard trajectory. In and out of hospitals, he recovered, but was never quite as good. And this patient either wanted to be alive and vibrant, or they wanted to be dead. They did not want that in-between trajectory. So is putting that AICD in the right thing to do for this patient? I don't know. That takes a discussion, and that takes understanding, because putting that AICD in, if you don't know that, you may have and you didn't really explain it. You just said, this is what we're doing. It's going to prevent you from dying suddenly, whatever. Again, and all the other risks and benefits of the procedure. But that's a different type of risk and benefit that I don't know gets explored, because maybe they would rather, when it's my time, if I have sudden death, that's how I want to go. My family may not be too happy about it, but that's how I want to go. And so these are discussions that are important, because we've got all this great medicine and technology that's keeping people alive longer, hopefully better with some of these chronic diseases. But sometimes you get to a point where it's hard. It's hard to live with these illnesses.
Yeah.
And we have to have honest conversations about what's coming down the pike, I think.
Yeah, it gets into that discussion of how do you define quality of life.
Because what's right for me is not right for someone else. But if we don't ask, we don't know.
And I don't think that there is a physician on earth that looks forward to having that conversation. But it's so important, right?
It isn't, it's actually very rewarding. And the crazy thing is that I have friends or people meet me. I mean, talk about a conversation killer when you're at a party that no one knows you and they ask you what you do and you're palliative medicine. So, or they all start talking about the terrible experiences they've had with loved ones.
Yeah.
And everyone says, how hard this is. It must be so hard. And this may not sound very good, but I am a healthier palliative physician than I was a plastic surgeon. Because as a plastic surgeon, I took my patients on my back and I had to get them through and things had to be perfect. That was the way I did it. And that's hard.
Right.
That's pretty burdensome. And as a palliative physician, my patients are all at some point going to die. I can't stop that. But what I can do is make sure that they understand what's coming as best as I can so that the patients can make the decisions. I can help with their symptoms as best I can. And I don't feel the burden of having to change what's going to happen that I did as a plastic surgeon.
Nadine, I think I could probably be very happy to carry this conversation on for another hour or two, but I know you have time constraints, and so we're going to move this thing along. We have come to the part of the discussion that I enjoy the most, and that is when I get out of your way and let you speak on your own. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And audience, this is Dr. Nadine Semer and her personal prescriptions for success.
So I find this a little bit of a challenge because I'm not sure about the definition of success. We all kind of have to feel what that is for ourselves, because I tend to think of success as passing legislation that's changed lives or achieving something major. And I don't know that I've really done much of that, but I feel that I have accomplished what I'd hoped to accomplish with my time here. And to me, that's a success. Part of that is doing what you feel is in your heart and you feel is important. And it doesn't matter what other people say. And it's really hard to do things that other people think are crazy. But the main thing is to listen to your heart, to do what you feel you have to do. I often had medical students or other residents asking about going into surgery because not everyone, but most people like being in the operating room. It's fun. You're doing things. But I would often tell them the only people that should go into a surgical specialty is someone that would not be happy doing anything else. And if you have that keeps you going through the hard times because it's hard. It's hard when people doubt you. You're going to have things get in your way. But if you can keep listening to what your heart is telling you you need to do, that is success to me. And feeling that you have given what you've had, all that you could to help others, to me is a success. So following your heart, and sometimes that means reaching out in ways that you didn't think would go anywhere. And so that can be following things you like to do or just trying something new. Don't get too pigeonholed by what you want to do. I always am happy with what I've done, and I would be a surgeon again. The only thing I would do different is I would not have been a biochemistry major in undergraduate, because that I don't think I had as good education as I could have had. So keep avenues open, because you'll learn from unexpected places. So don't close off opportunities that sound interesting to you because you think it may not get you to where you want to go. Every little thing you experience, you can use to help get you to what you hope to achieve. And sometimes that also means being courageous. And those are my prescriptions for success.
Well, that's a lot of wisdom, Nadine, and I really appreciate you being here to share with us. I've really enjoyed talking to you, particularly after reading your book, and I hope our audience will go wherever they go for books right away and get it. It's very manageable. I got through the entire thing in 2 sittings on 2 separate days. And I really don't think that I recall learning as much as I did in any 800-page book as I did reading what you've packed into that little bit that you've put together. So congratulations for that, and thank you for sharing it with us. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience where they can find you if you have things that you want to share, like websites or where to find the book and things of that sort. Please.
Oh, well, thank you. The book can be purchased any place you purchase books. There's actually a website out there, I believe it's called bookshop.org, that supports independent booksellers. So that's a nice website to use. But the typical Barnes & Nobles, Amazons, the typical book places you can order it from. My email address is book15lessons@gmail.com. Please send me an email. And the book is also available as an ebook, so you can get a downloadable version.
It is indeed available as an ebook, and that's the way I consumed it because my tired eyes can hardly read anymore. And I'm really glad that it's available as an ebook. So once again, Dr. Nadine Semer, thank you so much for being with us today on Prescriptions for Success.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. If you enjoyed the show, you can help us reach more listeners by leaving a rating and a review, especially on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if your app doesn't have that option, just leave us an email or a voicemail through SpeakPipe at www.mymdcoaches.com/podcast. You can also help by becoming a Patreon member. That link is in the show notes. And we also hope you'll follow our companion podcast, Life-Changing Moments with Dr. Dale Waxman. Special thanks to our producer, Craig Clausen, our promotions manager, Mariana Rodabaugh, and to Ryan Jones, who created and performs our theme music. And remember, be sure to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.